Hello, and welcome to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into the life of one of history's most iconic figures. A man whose name has echoed through millennia. Alexander the Great, born in 356 BCE in Pella, the capital of Macedonia. Alexander was destined for greatness from the very beginning. His father was King Philip II, a brilliant military strategist in his own right, and his mother was the fiery Queen Olympias. Legend even has it that his parents told him he was a descendant of the great heroes Achilles and Heracles. Talk about pressure to succeed. From a young age, Alexander was groomed for power. He received a top-tier education from none other than the philosopher Aristotle, who taught him everything from politics and medicine to philosophy and science. This wasn't just book learning. Aristotle instilled in him a deep curiosity about the world, a passion for knowledge, and a way of thinking that would prove invaluable in his future conquests. He wasn't just a scholar, though. Alexander was a natural leader, charismatic and fearless. There's a famous story about him as a young boy taming a wild and untamable horse named Bucephalus, a horse no one else could ride. He noticed the horse was afraid of its own shadow, so he simply turned it towards the sun and calmed it down. This horse would later carry him across Asia. This single act showed his incredible insight, courage, and ability to think outside the box, qualities that would define his entire career. Then, in 336 BCE, tragedy struck. His father, Philip II, was assassinated, thrusting Alexander onto the throne at the tender age of just 20. Many thought the young king would be overwhelmed, that the vast kingdom his father had built would crumble. They couldn't have been more wrong. Alexander acted swiftly and decisively. He crushed rebellions within Greece, solidifying his power base with ruthless efficiency. With his home front secure, he turned his eyes to the east, towards the colossal Persian Empire, his father's lifelong enemy and the superpower of the ancient world. This wasn't just about revenge or conquest. It was about fulfilling a grand vision, a Hellenic crusade to spread Greek culture and influence across the known world. In 334 BCE, Alexander crossed the Hellespont into Asia with a relatively small but highly disciplined army of about 40,000 Macedonians and Greeks. This marked the beginning of one of the most audacious military campaigns in history. He was about to take on an empire that stretched from Egypt to India, an empire with seemingly limitless resources and manpower. Many would have called it a suicide mission. But Alexander wasn't just any commander. He was a military genius. His first major test came almost immediately at the Battle of the Granicus River. The Persians had set up a strong defensive position on the opposite bank, confident they could hold off the Macedonian advance. But Alexander, leading from the front as he always did, charged headfirst across the river with his elite companion cavalry. It was a bold, almost reckless move, but it completely shattered the Persian lines. This stunning victory sent shockwaves across Asia Minor, modern-day Turkey. City after city opened its gates to him, some hailing him as a liberator from Persian rule. But the real challenge was yet to come. The Persian Emperor, Darius III, was now mobilizing the full might of his empire to crush this young upstart. The two armies met at the Battle of Issus in 333 BCE. Alexander was heavily outnumbered, but he had a plan. He spotted a weakness in the Persian line near where Darius himself was positioned. In a classic head of the snake strategy, Alexander led a decisive cavalry charge directly at the emperor. Panic ensued. Darius, fearing for his life, fled the battlefield, causing his entire army to collapse. Alexander captured the emperor's family, including his mother, wife, and daughters, but treated them with the utmost respect, a move that earned him admiration even among his enemies. After the victory at Issus, Alexander marched south along the Mediterranean coast. His goal was to neutralize the Persian navy by capturing all of its port cities. Most cities surrendered, but one stood defiant: the island fortress of Tyre. The Tyrians were confident that their island location and massive walls made them impregnable. They were wrong. For 7 long months, Alexander laid siege to the city. What he did next was an engineering marvel. He ordered his men to build a massive causeway, a land bridge stretching half a mile across the sea to the island. Under constant attack, his soldiers built this incredible structure, allowing his siege engines to finally reach the city walls. The fall of Tyre was a brutal affair, but it was a testament to Alexander's unwavering determination and ingenuity. From there, he marched into Egypt, where he was welcomed not as a conqueror, but as a pharaoh and a liberator. It was here, at the mouth of the Nile, that he founded the most famous of his many cities, Alexandria. He envisioned it as a great hub of culture, trade, and learning, and it would become exactly that, housing the legendary Library of Alexandria and standing as a beacon of knowledge for centuries. But Darius was still out there. The Persian Emperor had raised another massive army, gathering troops from every corner of his vast empire for one final, decisive showdown. The stage was set at the Battle of Gaugamela in 331 BCE. Once again, Alexander was massively outnumbered. Some ancient sources claimed the Persian army numbered over 1 million men, though modern estimates are more conservative. Regardless, the odds were stacked against him. But Alexander's tactical brilliance shone brighter than ever. He used a complex strategy, drawing the Persian cavalry out to the flanks, creating a gap in their center. And just like at Issus, he led a thunderous charge straight through that gap, aiming directly for Darius. And just like at Issus, Darius fled. This was the end. The Battle of Gaugamela shattered the Persian Empire for good. Alexander marched into Babylon and then to the Persian capitals of Susa and Persepolis, claiming the immense wealth of the empire. In a controversial move, he burned the Grand Palace at Persepolis, possibly as revenge for the Persian burning of Athens a century and a half earlier. With the Persian Empire now his, you might think Alexander would stop. But his ambition knew no bounds. He was driven by an insatiable desire to reach the ends of the world and the great outer sea. His journey took him further east, into what is now Afghanistan and Uzbekistan, territories known in ancient times as Bactria and Sogdiana. This was a different kind of war. Instead of massive pitched battles, he faced years of grueling guerrilla warfare against fierce local warlords. It was a tough, bloody campaign, but Alexander adapted his tactics, eventually pacifying the region. It was also during this time that he married Roxana, the daughter of a Bactrian nobleman, a political marriage that helped to solidify his control over the newly conquered lands. This marriage was part of a larger policy of fusion. Alexander wasn't just trying to impose Greek culture, he was trying to blend it with Eastern traditions. He adopted some elements of Persian dress and court customs, and he encouraged his soldiers to marry local women. This was a controversial policy among his Macedonian veterans, who felt he was forgetting his roots. But for Alexander, it was a practical way to rule a multicultural empire. He understood that to hold such a vast and diverse territory, he needed to win the hearts and minds of its people, not just defeat their armies. He founded over 70 cities, many named Alexandria, and established them as centers of Greek language, philosophy, and art, spreading Hellenistic culture all the way to Central Asia. In 326 BCE, Alexander pushed on into the Indus Valley in modern-day Pakistan and India. Here, he faced one of his toughest opponents yet, King Porus and his army of war elephants. At the Battle of the Hydaspes River, the Macedonians encountered these terrifying beasts for the first time. The elephants caused chaos, trampling soldiers and breaking formations. But Alexander's tactical genius prevailed once again. He managed to outmaneuver Porus's forces and surround them. After a fierce battle, Porus was defeated. Alexander, so impressed by the Indian king's courage and dignity in defeat, allowed him to keep his kingdom, making him an ally. Alexander wanted to push even further to the great Ganges River, but his army had finally reached its limit. After nearly a decade of constant marching and fighting, his soldiers were exhausted. They were thousands of miles from home and had heard tales of even larger armies and more elephants waiting for them in the east. They mutinied, refusing to go any further. A frustrated Alexander was forced to turn back. The return journey was disastrous. He split his forces, with one part sailing through the Persian Gulf and the other, led by Alexander himself, marching through the brutal Gedrosian desert. Thousands died from heat and thirst. Upon his return to Babylon in 323 BCE, Alexander began planning his next campaigns, an invasion of Arabia, and perhaps a journey west to Carthage and the Mediterranean. But it was not to be. After a long banquet and drinking party, he fell ill with a sudden fever. For 12 agonizing days, his condition worsened until, at the age of just 32, the unconquered conqueror was dead. The cause of his death remains one of history's great mysteries. Was it malaria, typhoid fever, or was he poisoned by a rival? We may never know. His death was a cataclysmic event. He had built the largest empire the world had ever seen, but he died without naming a clear heir. When his generals asked him to whom he left his kingdom, he supposedly whispered, "To the strongest." What followed was nearly half a century of war, as his top generals, known as the Diadochi, or successors, fought each other to carve up the massive empire. They eventually divided it into several Hellenistic kingdoms, such as the Ptolemaic Kingdom in Egypt and the Seleucid Empire in Asia. These kingdoms continued to be major centers of Greek culture and influence for centuries, ensuring that Alexander's legacy would endure long after his death. His life was a short, brilliant flame that blazed across the ancient world, forever changing the course of history. He was a military genius, a visionary leader, and a complex figure who was both a creator and a destroyer. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through the incredible life of Alexander the Great. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into history's most fascinating stories. See you in the next one.